call our regular board meeting to order at 7:30. We're located in the Village Chambers, 2350 South 25th Avenue. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham.
Here.
Trustee Chamalave is absent. Trustee Senior.
Here.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Trustee Shelby.
Here.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller is absent. Oh, she's here. She's walking in. Thank you. Madam President, we have a quorum. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you all. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Civility that I'll read. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understanding that we each may have different ideas for achieving that objective. Now I will ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Real quick bit of housekeeping, Trustee Ward, if you would be so kind as to speak into the mics when it's your turn to speak, especially when we're taking motions and seconds so we can hear you and so that the recording can pick you up, because sometimes it's hard to hear on the recordings. Thank you. Next is item 2, public comment. I received nothing. Mayor, did you receive anything?
No.
Thank you. So we're on to number 3, presentation. Recognition of Officer Jonathan Rigner.
Thank you. So, Officer Wigner, will you come up to the front, please? So, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, or last week, we had a death in the Village of Broadview, and the death was an infant under 2 months old. Officer Rigner spent a lot of time with the family, and so he and I attended the services that the family hosted. And to see the compassion that he showed to the family, they were so grateful and honored that the police department showed up and stayed with them the whole entire day, because it's a whole process with detective work. But he was one of the officers that stayed, and they had expressed to me what that meant to him, and the parents were very young. I think the mom is like 19, the dad was 22. The dad was very, very emotional. And what I witnessed was the dad embraced Officer Rigner, just wouldn't let him go. So it became an emotional situation. And so when we talk about what our public safety do every day, the police department, they get into situations that they're not thinking they're doing one thing and it's showing up for another thing. And I really wanted to recognize you, Officer Rigner, because it was showing what compassion is in the Village of Broadview. And so you do make a difference. Compassion is the foundation of a strong and united community. So we hereby present the Compassion Award to Officer Jonathan Rigner. Understanding love and kindness are the foundations of a stronger and more united community by encouraging others to lead with their hearts in service. Presented by Mayor Katrina R. Thompson in the Village of Broadview, Board of Trustees on today's date, October 21st, 2024. So we'll present you with this award. So thank you for your service, because love and kindness is really what this village is all about. And sometimes we lose sight of that. Officer Rigner, I don't know if you want to say anything, but I will.
Just to speak briefly about the incident, obviously, Madam Mayor explained that the infant hadn't even made 2 months old, and when I saw those little feet on the hospital bed, it was kind of gripping. I broke down. I've seen a lot of big bodies passed away, gunshot victims, all type of things, but it's different when somebody's so young and innocent, who didn't even get a chance to experience life. It kind of hit me different. I also became aware that the father had recently lost his job, and he was in a terrible car accident. The mom didn't have insurance, so I just felt compelled to do something for the family. So I want to give a special thanks to my coworkers in the department and Madam Mayor for their contributions as well. The family gave me a call after the services and indicated that the proceeds that we collected was just enough for a headstone for a little Violet. So it had a beautiful culmination, and I appreciate you all for this recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, anything you would like to say?
No.
Trustee Shelby?
Thank you so much for your love and your compassion and, you know, supporting Broadview. Stay safe and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Senior? You got to speak into your mic.
Thank you. I'm just
Emotional.
so touching.
Thank you. Trustee Abraham?
Thank you for what you did in your service to our community.
Thank you, Officer Rigner. Congratulations. All right, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Next on the presentation, we have Detective Brandy Johnson and Commissioner Anjanita Jordan Harper on domestic violence project.
So before they start, October is a lot of awareness month. So we celebrated breast cancer awareness by wearing pink on last Friday, October 18th. Now we going right into domestic violence. And domestic violence is something that I've been working on since I've been in office, working with sex trafficking offenders and victims or survivors. And then now with the domestic violence. So when Detective Johnson and I was talking, I know Commissioner Jordan, she is a Cook County probation officer with Cook County, and she also serves on our Fire and Police Commission. And so when I had the conversation with Detective Johnson, I said, well, connect with Commissioner Harper Jordan because she does a lot of work in this space. And I know we did some town halls early on what domestic violence is and we've had board members that sat on this board that experienced domestic situations, trustees that has been impacted by it. And so it's something that she took the lead on, and I supported it. So I asked Detective Johnson to go to Chief Mills to have that conversation with him because he's the chief and he has to give his blessing. But I think it's a great initiative that our police department is taking initiatives to do programming and wraparound services for those that we serve in our community. And so we had, not too long ago, a woman that was here that was on the run. They live in Broadview, but the only thing she had was the clothes on her back. And she was right here in the lobby, running from a domestic situation. And so it's important that we take care of those that's impacted by this type of behavior, whether it's a female or a male. So I'll turn it over to Detective Johnson and Commissioner Harper Jordan to go into what they want to do with the domestic violence. I'm hoping it goes annually, but go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So good evening, everybody. So I'm Detective Johnson, and this is
Commissioner Anjanita Jordan Harper.
all righty. So the thought process behind starting this was women in law enforcement. We've observed various domestic violence incidents. She in the courtroom, me on the street, investigations, things like that. And we wanted to initiate a program that allowed our experiences to assist victims who don't know what to do. They don't know where to run to. So the program is called the Power Pouch Project. And the hope for it is for victims to see that Broadview is a local and victim-centric location, right? So maybe when we go on those 911 calls, sometimes they don't want our assistance because their abuser is right there. And so if they know that they can come here and walk through those doors 24/7 and receive some assistance, that's the goal of this program. So also what this program is supposed to do is provide some tools. It's a to-go bag. It provides various toiletries, affirmation cards to encourage them, along with meal tickets donated by restaurants in the Village of Broadview. Also, it has a resource card. On the resource card will be a list of resources in the surrounding area, in the Proviso Township area, for them to know who they can contact. And what I want to add is a lot of times victims don't know about these resources. They don't know who to call or what website or who to visit. And so with this resource card, it's a start for them. I also want to add that most resources are closed, by 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Shelters are, full by 7 p.m. And so when we have that victim that walks in here at 3 a.m., they have something to at least get them started. And I'd like to add that in my experience with domestic victims, a lot of times their abuser controls their phone, their internet access, so they're not able to research these things. They don't know that it exists. So that is part of our initiative, and we're hoping that not only do we start this in Broadview, but we want surrounding police departments in the Proviso Township area to join us on this initiative as well. So we are just grateful for Mayor for supporting us. Thank you, Chief Mills, as well, and we just look forward to this program taking off.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
So I thought we would have addressed, I guess at the last board meeting, the bill for Pis Banquet, since I thought that went along with the program that you guys are introducing. Can you give us more information on that as well?
Yes, trustee. So basically, May 3rd, we will have our first fundraiser for this incident. It will be at Pis Banquets in Berwyn. And so essentially that fundraiser is for us to raise money to replenish toiletries. It's also to have those financial resources for that victim that needs to get a room at the Travel Inn, or that victim that needs to maybe get a bus ticket back to where they are from. They need to get away in an emergency type of situation. So we plan to sell 100 tickets at $125 a piece, which would give us $12,500. The hall costed us $7,747.20. So that'll give us a $4,752.80 profit. And that's something that we would like to have in a bank, so that when we need to assist victims, that money is available. But I'd like to also add that these ticket purchases will be made through the Village of Broadview website, and that is for transparency purposes. So people know exactly where their money is going to, and there's no question about it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was one of the concerns that I had 2 weeks ago at the last board meeting. I kind of felt like this should have come before us before the decision was made to expend funds. While it's in the budget for extra activities to happen, I think for transparency, that was kind of one of my concerns there. I appreciate the initiative that you two ladies are taking to kind of help our victims take a stance. As far as the purple bags, how would a recipient receive it if the whole intention is to keep them protected from their victim? Their
Abuser.
How
So
would they
the
receive it?
thought process behind it is, a lot of times, again, when you're on the scene and that abuser is there, it's hard to articulate to that victim the resources and the help they can receive. But on the other side of it, in investigations, when cases are sent to me, or when arrests are made, a lot of times victims will call the next day and say, please release him. Please release him because he controls the money, he has my cell phone, and I just need him out because I need to eat. And so when I get calls like that, I like to be able to talk to them and give them the resources, tell them what is out there, tell them how an order of protection works. And so a lot of times with domestic violence victims, they have to want the assistance. And so having that option of them walking into that door, or when they call me, as well as when they're talking to officers, because this is something that the officers will know about, so that they are able to identify, they have someone that's in need, they can help them out as well in their travels. I also want to add, we get a lot of victims at the Travel Inn. They may not be from our town, but they're traveling through. And so not only do we want to help those Broadview residents, but we want to help anybody we come in contact with.
So how would they get the bag?
So how they would get the bag is the officers would know or I know, and then they would be guided here to get it.
Okay, so we're gonna guide them. We're not gonna just hand it to them during the actual incident.
Of
report.
course not.
Yeah,
That wouldn't make sense. That would be, put them in danger, and that's not what we want.
Okay.
But if they're coming to us or calling us, along with us giving them information, we can offer that back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Shelby?
No, thank you. Job well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Trustee Senior? You all need to turn your mics on and speak into the mic.
It's a very good idea, and I appreciate the thought process behind it,
Thank you.
and I think it's going to go over very well.
Thank you, trustee.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Abraham?
Amazing, ladies, what you've done, and I want to sincerely thank you for doing that, and looking out for other women. I mean, obviously, you know, it starts with us and supporting each other and providing this alternative and just getting people help that they can't say and they're trapped in a situation. So definitely, you have my support more than 110%. I mean, it is, domestic violence is an issue. Abuse to women is an issue. We've got a whole generation of young girls coming up, and why aren't they considered equal and have the opportunities, and I don't want to get all choked up here, but it's definitely dear to me as a former college coach, just to make sure these girls got out of a situation and to go on to college and, be somebody to make a difference. And I appreciate what you guys are totally doing. I love it. I'm here to support you, whatever you need. I would love to donate to you guys also.
Thank you,
Definitely
trustee.
talk to
Thank
you
you.
afterwards about the donation.
Okay.
Thank you. So before you all leave the podium, I will say this, that, a lot of times people want the mayor to start all of the initiatives and be proactive in initiatives that we have in the Village of Broadview. But sometimes I want to be the one that support initiatives that are so impactful to our community, but not just for the residents that live here, but those that's passed through. And like Detective Johnson had mentioned, the travel in, it's a lot that takes place at that spot. And we've become, aware of a lot of situations. I know we have, and I'm gonna say we, but I have personally paid for weeks for people to stay over there just to have shelter. We are a municipality. We are not a social service agency, but we have to be able to respond immediately to a need because we're talking about humanity. The work that we do is all about humanity, and I just want to say I thank you all for stepping up to the plate of something that is part of my platform, but something that I'm very passionate about when it comes to women. Like I said, it's women on this board who have been challenged with some domestic violence. Some of the trustees may know them, and some of them may not know them, but I know who they are. And we have to put services in place to protect everyone from this type of violent crime that can take place. Women, and it happens to men too, believe it or not. It happened to men too. So it's not just, this is a care package for women, and when I looked in the bag, I saw sanitary napkins, deodorant, toothpaste, just to get them along their journey. It's not a situation that we're trying to house them in. We're just trying to get them along their journey because sometimes they just need a bus ticket to get to, maybe they're not from the state, to get home. How do we help them along the journey? So I did take the initiative to help get some gift cards for food for all of the bags. So that they can at least eat or get to the Greyhound bus or to the Amtrak. But it's inspiring that we have women that's in leadership like Detective Johnson that just took the lead, and then she embraced our own resident, Anjanita, to be a part of this as a Fire and Police Commissioner. So I thank the Fire and Police Commission Board as well as Detective Johnson for taking the lead. And as you all lunch, I know Chief Mills is not here tonight because he's at a conference, but I know that he's talking to the other chiefs to implement this in other police departments in the Proviso Township because we've had a couple of conversations. So thank you. I look forward to supporting, and whatever you need from my office, I'm here to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, next is item 4, communications. I have a couple. Number 1, Developing Our Youth Scholarship Expo 2024. This will be held over at Proviso West High School, 4701 Harrison Street in Hillside, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on October 22nd. This is sponsored by Mayor Katrina Thompson and Mayor Andre Harvey from Bellwood. Developing Our Youth has a 15-year history of empowering communities by providing resources and support to youth and their families. This is happening tomorrow. Next, Broadview Votes, voter and election information. So, of course, if you're paying attention, you know that the online voter registration expired last evening, and it will pick up again on November 7th for the next election to happen. But with this flyer, you can pick one up right outside in the lobby, or you can contact the clerk's office and I'll email you one. You can apply for a mail-in ballot. You can work on election day as an election judge, or you can check your voter information. It tells you your precinct, where to vote, etc. Early voting started today in suburban Cook County over at the Bellwood Village Hall, located at 3200 West Washington Boulevard in Bellwood, and also at the Maywood Public Library, 121 South Fifth Avenue in Maywood. The actual general election for the presidential is November 5th, 2024, and you can do so at your regular polling place. Next, Broadview Park District presents Halloween Spookathon, October 25th and 26th. I am assuming this is at Schroeder Park, 2600 South 13th Avenue, but for more information, contact 708-343-5637. Next, Trunk or Treat with Linda PTA. This is happening Saturday, October 26, 2024, at Lindop's main parking lot from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. For more information, call Lindop School. Next, Housing Forward, also having a Halloween trunk party on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. This will be located over at the 1851 South 9th Avenue location in Maywood, Quinn Center's parking lot. For more information, of course, you want to call Housing Forward at 708-338-1724, extension 229. Next, That's Fabulous Boutique is having their grand opening, located at 1821 West Roosevelt Road. This is going to happen November 6th at 2 p.m. Special guest, Mayor Katrina Thompson. Come celebrate with us. Drinks, music, food, and more. Finally, creating space for small businesses. 1-year anniversary, Broadview Dream Center. Come celebrate with us on Saturday, November 9th, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Beverly Center, located at 3031 South 25th Avenue. Vendor space is available. Call 708-613-8813, or you can email the Broadview Dream Center at gmail.com directly. Vendors must register by November 1st. And that concludes communications for this evening. Next is item 5, consideration to approve the following minutes. Minutes from the October 7th, 2024 regular board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Senior, seconded by Trustee Shelby. Madam President, open for discussion.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
Well, I noticed we changed the order now, so I'll go first. Cool. A couple things on here that I actually have questions about. I see we just got these today, so that's why I'm just asking you. I think the counts might be off on a few of the votes. So like, for instance, for the roll call, we have 4 trustees that voted, but it says the motion carries 5-0. So that's
Which item is that particular?
roll call.
Okay, I'll double check everything, and any updates, I'll make sure I get out to the
Yeah, I
board.
think it's because we allowed the mayor to participate.
Possibly.
Yeah.
We'll
And
double check.
then items, I wrote item C. I gotta find what item C goes to so I can give you the exact, new business, item C. We have 3 trustees that voted, but the motion carried 4-0.
Possibly the mayor voted as well,
Yeah, so I think we should call out that the mayor voted on that.
most definitely.
And then at the end, I just did a quick summary, so I don't know if all of them are right, but I think we should review the motion votes. And then at the end, we have that the adjournment was made by trustee Armour, but she was not in attendance, so she can't make a motion. I have no idea who made the motion to adjourn, so that should be corrected as
We'll
well.
get that corrected. Thank you, trustee.
Thank you. Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions?
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes, with the
And this
corrections.
carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next, item 6, consideration to approve expenditures, grand total of all funds, $915,662.76 for the period ending October 16th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Senior, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Trustee Shelby, the finance chairwoman, will you please read the warrant list?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Okay, the vendors are AT&T in the amount of $9,790.49. B&F Construction Code Services Incorporated in the amount of $11,468.13. Comcast Business in the amount of $5,033.90. Darden Construction Incorporated in the amount of $278,875. David Ormsby Incorporated in the amount of $3,000. Enterprise FM Trust in the amount of $20,957.85. Heritage Broadview LLC in the amount of $88,000. Lauterbach and Amon LLP in the amount of $3,030. M&J Asphalt Paving Company Incorporated in the amount of $81,132.12. Mulder's Collision Center in the amount of $5,000. Suburban General Construction Incorporated in the amount of $388,749.15. Tier Point LLC in the amount of $2,511.31. Verizon Wireless in the amount of $2,910.40. The total of expenditures over $2,500 came to $900,458.35, which is 98% of our total expenditures in the amount of $915,662.76. We also had an electronic payment, and the vendor was Chase Credit Card. The payments reflecting as of September the 25th, 2024, in the amount of $17,757.94. The following accounts were affected by these expenditures. You have the general fund account in the amount of $78,906.49, the CDBG fund in the amount of $81,132.12, and the Roosevelt Road TIF fund in the amount of $388,749.15. And you have the 19th Street TIF in the amount of $88,000. And then you have the Capital Fund account in the amount of $278,875, again for a grand total of $915,662.76. And Madam Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Shelby. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No question.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions?
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next, item 7, application for the authority to expend funds totaling $28,185.43 for a purchase order for LED lighting solutions for the Public Works Department.
Is Director Ames?
I don't see Director Ames in.
Okay, well, I know about this purchase order, so
Okay.
this purchase
First,
order,
we need a motion and a second, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Senior, seconded by trustee Abraham. Okay, Madam President.
thank you. So this purchase order is to purchase solar panels for radar speed signs in the Village of Broadview. So it's 7 locations that's gonna be, that's been identified. I'm not sure what areas, but working with Public Works and the police department, they're gonna do some radar speed signs to keep us pedestrian safe as we put our bike lanes and our crosswalks and our pedestrian sidewalks in place. So this is just, and actually this line item is in the Public Works budget for this year. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
Are they just to monitor traffic, or would these actually have cameras?
No, it's a radar, solar panel radar, so there's a panel, and then it's powered by LED radar speed signs. So if you want more information, I would encourage you to reach out to the Public Works Director.
I will, 'cause, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions?
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham,
Yes.
trustee Chamalabi is absent, trustee Senior,
Yes.
trustee Shelby,
Yes.
trustee Harmer is absent, trustee Miller,
Abstain.
and this carries. Mayor Thompson, can I have your vote, please?
Yes.
All right, thank you. This carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you. Next is item 8. Village officer reports, which are given at each second meeting of the month, starting with the building department, Commissioner David Upshaw.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, and everyone in attendance.
Good evening.
The building department report is on file in the mayor's and the clerk's office. If you have any questions or need any additional information. Some of the highlights are the Broadview Community Flats Development Project, which will be located at 1301 through 1331 Roosevelt Road. We are in the next phase of the project where we will be sitting down with the mayor and the other departments along with legal to draft an agreement. Helios, which is located at 2150 Parks Avenue, they are in phase 2 of their projects. Helios is the cultivation facility that we have in Broadview. Chick-fil-A, which is 3300 Village Square Mall, that project is nearing completion. Dates will go out as it relates to ribbon cutting ceremony, which should be in the next 30 days or less. And Vanny, they are having their final inspections this week. Vanny, they have an addition located at 2759 South 25th Avenue. They're having their final inspections this week, and they should be receiving their certificate of occupancy. And those are the highlights. At this time, I'll entertain any questions from the mayor of the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Upshaw. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
Other than it's nice to see a lot of our projects are getting completed, and it looks like everybody's on time pretty much, right?
Yes,
Thank you.
it's a process.
So I will add with the Chick-fil-A, I met with the owners last weekend, so they anticipating opening up at the end of this month, so it's gonna be within the next couple of weeks. If there's no delays with the final completion of their inspections and some other final things that they was working on, so they looking to open up before November 1st. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Finance Department, Finance Director Tom Hood.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Got a few things to hit upon tonight. The September finance report has been filed. You guys should have gotten it by email today. I do want to point out, I am going to look it over and do some corrections on it. It looks like the budget did not convert from the old system to the new system. This is the first report off of the new system, and I'm here to tell you there are no 27,000% over budgets. So if you have any questions, please email me, and as soon as I figure out what's going on, I'll send out a corrected version. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing that tonight you guys will see on the agenda, engagement letters for Stiefel and our bond counsel. It's time to do the annual rollover bond. So that we're getting that started right now, and when you get up here, Tom can speak to the process. And the third thing is the fiscal '22 audit. It's been finalized and released, and we have Mr. Coyle from Baker Tilly here to speak about it if you'd like. Yeah, sure, come on up now. Yeah, it's items B through F on your agenda, which you might want considered consent agenda.
Thanks, Tom. All right, it's good to be with you. Jason Coyle with Baker Tilly. So as Tom said, we did just finalize and issue the '22 audit, which is a step in the right direction of getting things back on track as far as getting the financial statements more current than they are. I won't talk a whole lot about the financial statements because obviously the information at this point is a little stale. But the purpose of us coming in to do our audit is to evaluate the financial information and make sure what is included in your financial statements is accurate. And so we put an opinion in the financial statements that basically says that. That's the purpose of our opinion. Somebody could pick up those financial statements and rely on it that it's materially accurate. So that's why you hire us. The difference between your financial statements that you look at monthly and what we put in the audit is on a monthly basis, you're looking at cash basis, so just cash in, cash out. For the audit, we also incorporate accounts receivables, accounts payables, things like that, so it eliminates timing differences as of the end of the year. That's what they call generally accepted accounting principles have been applied to those financial statements. So there are some differences if you were to compare the balances. Our opinion on there is what we call an unmodified or unqualified opinion, highest level of assurance that we can give over your financial information. I know you don't all want to look at all those pages in the financial statements. There is a section called the management's discussion and analysis at the front. I always encourage all governing body members to at least read through that. It's a few pages long that summarizes some information. There's some nice charts in there too to see where your money's coming from and where your money's going to. Obviously a large percentage of your expenditures are for public safety, fire department, police department, things like that. Also in your financial statements, something that is always a hot topic in Illinois that you probably don't talk about a lot is your pension liabilities. So obviously you contribute quite a bit of money to your police and your fire pension funds, which are included within the financial statements. And you also contribute money to IMRF, which is for other municipal employees. So those contributions, IMRF, you're in a great position. You actually have what they call a net pension asset, which means they hold more money for you than your calculated liability. The police and fire funds are not in that position. They have a net pension liability, and the payments to those obviously can continue to escalate for you as they do every other municipality, and obviously impact your budget because of that. But that information is also within the financial statements. There's a lot of information in the notes that details all that out. So really that's the highlights of the financial statements. I could go more in depth if you wanted to on a few things, but like I said, the information is a little stale, and so things have changed since then. But it is a great step in the right direction, getting it filed with the comptroller's office, and now we'll move on to '23 as soon as we can. There's some work that Tom needs to do to get everything for us and ready for us, but we're working together and talking about when we'll be able to come in and get going on that. So, yeah. Any questions?
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions. I have to read everything. That's a lot, what you said.
It is.
That was a lot.
Trustee
We asked
Abraham?
Tom a lot of questions too, so it's
Yeah.
a lot of work for Tom as well.
No, it sounds like we're on the right track, and everything's getting covered, and things are falling into place.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I don't have any
Thank you very
questions.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
And as Jason mentioned, there is a lot. So what I would like to ask is Finance Chair, could we have a Finance Committee meeting and we can kind of go over in more detail at a later date?
Yes, most definitely, and
because
we'll get together.
I don't think
and-
anybody wants to stay here till 11 tonight.
No.
No.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Okay.
figured.
Well,
Okay,
we'll set up a date.
all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hood. Next is our fire department. Chief Bryant.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My report is on file in the mayor and clerk's office as well. I would like to highlight October. October is Fire Prevention Month, so I'd like to take this opportunity to speak about. I would encourage the public to follow the fire department on our Facebook page, where we have several life safety tips that we're putting out throughout the year. We had an outstanding open house that was well attended on October 12th. Many of the trustees visited, and I thank you all for coming out. The week of October 20th through the 26th is the culmination of Fire Prevention Month, where we'll be doing a community blitz to install smoke detectors. So if you need a smoke detector at your home, this does not apply to multifamily. I would encourage you to call to schedule an appointment, and the fire department will come out to schedule it. Our phone number is 708-349-6124. Again, that's 708-349-6124. And if you can't get it done that week, just call us anytime, and we'll get out to your home and schedule it, and I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief Brian. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
None, no questions.
Chief Brian, can you give us an update on the fire engine?
The fire engine is, it was just in the shop to get its striping. The firefighters are currently training on it, and we have to install the radios and the equipment, and I'm expecting to have it in service hopefully in the month of November.
Okay, and so with the radios, are those the radios that we received through the 9?
Yes,
different-
some of those radios will be installed in that as well, yes.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Next is our Police Department, Chief Thomas Mills.
I think Lieutenant Yokovich is.
In his place is Lieutenant Yurkovich, sorry.
Mayor, trustees, residents, the chief is away on a conference in Boston, Massachusetts. I believe he'll be returning to the department Wednesday. He has your board packet on file, if you all received it. The only new business for the police department, we do have a new CSO. His name is Kiwan Wolford. He's working the hours of Thursday through Sunday from 10 at night to 2 in the morning, and his main focus is Roosevelt Road. He's going to be enforcing the meter parking in that area during his tour, and he's been out there for the past couple weeks. Right now, there's no issues. It's going on very well. So I'll entertain any questions. I'll answer as best I can.
Thank you. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
So I will add, when we look at the report from August 2024 to September 2024, our total with crimes that we are down by 5 in this different areas. So the different areas is homicide, criminal, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated battery, burglary, theft, vehicle theft, arson. So, and we had 24 in August, and we got 19 in September, so we're down by 5. So crime is going down a little bit in the town.
We're starting it. As the department's growing, we get new officers. It gives us the ability to do a lot more. So we're working and focusing on the areas that need to be focused for the crimes that we observe every day. So.
Well, we appreciate the hard work. Make sure you make it home at the end of your shift. Thank you.
Ma'am. All right.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Next is Public Works Department, Director Matt Ames. I do not see him in the building. Does anyone have a report in his stead?
He's not in attendance, and he doesn't have a representative here for Public Works, but his report is on file in my office and in your office, and each trustee got a copy of it. I don't know if anyone have any questions, but we can't answer questions in departments because it's operations. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And finally, Administrative Department, Village Administrator Letisa Jones.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, residents in attendance, and everyone else. Thank you for being here. My report is on file with the mayor's office and also the clerk's office. Just a couple of highlights. I hope everyone went on our new website, which is still www.broadview-il.gov. We have some exciting, as the young people say, it's pops. So of where we are open to any suggestions that you may have, anything that you see that you know what we could tweak, please send that information to our office. You can call 708-681-3600. You can ask for Mrs. Jones or Miss Lily Sabeda Sierra. Also, we have an update on our LOSIS software, of which that is in connection also with our website. And we have what is called Ask Broadview. Now, I know some of you may ask, what is Ask Broadview? Well, the residents had asked us, how do they get communication, not only through email blasts, also a phone call, but how do we connect? Well, Ask Broadview. So on our website, you just click it and you can ask us questions. We also have AI connected. So if it's something that you see that's not on there, you just put your question in the AI spot, in the AI space, and of where it'll bring it up for you. If we've answered it already, you'll get an email that says, here's the answer for you. If not, that email will come to us, and then we would either give you a call or we will do a video chat for you. So we have that open to you as well. As Lieutenant Yokovich said, we did hire our first part-time CSO. We also hired 4 seasonal laborers in Public Works, and one of them was a female. So I'm excited about that. We have a female who's taken the charge in order to work in Public Works, and she, when you see her, she's just as tough as the men that she works with. Lastly, we have started making sure that we are looking when it comes to any of our software to just make sure that we are transparent when it comes to the accountability for all of the department heads. So I do appreciate the mayor and the trustees for giving us this opportunity in order to enhance our products and services so that we can be more accessible to our community. That concludes my report. If anybody has any other questions.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
I have no questions.
Trustee Senior?
Phenomenal.
Trustee Abraham?
Just want to thank you and your team at the window for doing their job every day and just being professional and courteous to all our residents that come in as well as outsiders, not from our community. So thank you and your team at the window.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Before you leave the podium, I will say with the new website, we've become very diverse in our community, and we have different languages spoken here. So on our website, there's a button that says translate. So if we need someone to translate to Spanish, it'll translate to Spanish, Polish, all of the different languages, a drop-down box. But we recognize that we have a very diverse community, and we want to acknowledge that so that we are able to communicate in all languages so that we can provide better services to our residents. So thank you, and thank Lily for all the hard work on the website. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And that concludes our officer reports. Next is item 9, old business. We have none. Item 10, new business. Item A, Domestic Violence Awareness Month Proclamation. Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. So we have a domestic violence awareness proclamation, and this is to just solidify what Detective Johnson and Commissioner Jordan Harper is initiating. And so we will have a proclamation annually as it relates to domestic violence. So it reads, whereas October is recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month across the United States, serving as a time to raise awareness about the prevalence of domestic violence and its devastating effects on individuals, families, and communities. And whereas domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationships that's used by one partner to gain or maintain control over another, and it can take many forms, including physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and financial abuse. And whereas domestic violence impacts millions of people regardless of age, race, gender, socioeconomic status, or education level, and survivors often suffer long-term consequences such as physical injuries, emotional trauma, and financial instability. And whereas we acknowledge the strength and resilience of survivors of domestic violence, as well as critical role of advocates, service providers, and law enforcement officers who work tirelessly to support victims and hold abusers accountable. And whereas raising awareness and providing education on the signs of domestic violence and available resources is essential to preventing future abuse and helping survivors rebuild their lives. And whereas by working together as a community, We can support survivors, promote healthy relationships, and help break the cycle of violence through prevention, intervention, and outreach. And whereas during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we affirm our commitment to ensuring that survivors of domestic violence have access to the support and resources they need, and that we stand united against all forms of violence in our community. Now, therefore, I, Katrina R. Thompson, Mayor, do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the Village of Broadview. I call upon all residents to speak out against domestic violence, support survivors, and participate in efforts to raise awareness and stop the cycle of abuse. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the Village of Broadview to be affixed this 21st of October 2024. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Next is item B, motion to accept the 2022 audit for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022. Need a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Shelby, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President, open for discussion.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No, none.
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next, item C, motion to accept the financial statements and supplementary information for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Shelby, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No.
Roll
Mr. Clerk?
call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next item, D. A motion to approve independent auditor's report for the fiscal year ending on April 30th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Shelby, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Director Hood, you want to tell us about this Roosevelt Road tax increment?
Oh, yeah, it's,
Can you go to the?
We're not there yet. We're still on D.
yeah, both E and F are the annual audits for any TIF that has a cumulative more than $100,000 collected into it has to have a separate audit. Like 17th Avenue is included in the village audit, but these two TIFs themselves have their own independent audit just because of the volume of tax increment that is collected over the years. So it's the same thing that we do every year.
Yep.
Any questions?
So
Trustee-
that's for item E, right?
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
approving D, I thought.
We're on D right now.
Oh, D?
D.
Oh, I'll skip one.
Yeah, it's okay.
D.
I don't have any questions for D.
Or B?
D as in
D as in
David.
Oh,
David.
D.
It's my fault. I skipped D, and I went right to E.
Okay. All right, well, that's the independent auditor's report is the one page that's part of the audit. That was the unqualified opinion that Jason talked about.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, let me back up a minute, because you read item E.
So let me reread for the record.
So
item
for the
D.
record, you skipped D and went right to E.
So for the record, item D, motion to approve independent
Thank you.
auditor's report
I knew it
for the
wasn't.
fiscal year ending on April 30th, 2022. I thought we did that.
That is what.
If I may make a suggestion, since there's already been a motion made for item E,
Okay.
and the second has already been for item E, I would say vote on item E and then go back to item D, and then after that, go to item F. Since we already have a motion on the table for item E.
Okay.
So on the table now, and as discussed by Director Hood, item E, motion to accept Village of Broadview Roosevelt Road Tax Increment Redevelopment Project Area Financial Statements which I did not read before, fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022.
He didn't read that.
And, no, I didn't. So at this point, do we have a motion and a second?
He never read E. I don't know where we got E from. He read D. That's what we were voting on, and then we called up Director Hood. He never read E. And I think that's what we got the motion and the second for, was for D.
Yeah, I made the motion
I
for D.
can't go back and listen to it.
I thought it was for D.
For D?
Yeah, it was D.
Okay.
I think we just went where we
It's,
were with the
it's
discussion.
confusing because a lot of these items are obviously very similar,
finance.
and they're all related. So if the motion was for D and the second was I'm
D.
sorry, the motion I have is for, that Shelby did the motion for D and C and D, well, B, C, and D, and that trustee Abraham did the second for those.
Yes.
So if that's the case, if it was D, then other than E, you can do that. Or you can, honestly, if the mayor would like, we can take all three of them. We can just withdraw that motion and do a motion to take all three, the next three at the same time, D, E, and F.
We do them as a consent agenda, and I read them into the record, and we vote on them all together, and we have the
If
director to
that's
speak
what the
on
mayor
them.
would, if that's what the mayor would like to
If
do.
the mayor would please.
So you read into the record item D,
Yes, ma'am.
and we had a motion and a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Miller, do you have any questions?
I already said I have no questions about D.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No question.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk?
Okay, roll call. Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Chamalabi is absent. Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Shelby?
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Next item. E as in Edward. A motion to accept Village of Broadview Roosevelt Road tax increment redevelopment project area financial statements for fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022.
Can I motion that we approve E and F together?
Just read them into the record.
Okay, I'll
Both of
read both of them into the record,
read
and
both.
then we'll ask for a consent agenda
He
for
gotta-
those
he
two.
gotta
So I'm
read
now
both into the
reading item F into the record. Item F, a motion to accept Village of Broadview 19th Avenue Tax Increment Redevelopment Project Area financial statements fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022. Now, before we do a motion, Madam Attorney, do we need to approve a consent agenda for these two items?
Yes, so you'll need a motion to establish a consent agenda to consider items E and F, and then that can be just a voice vote. That does not require a roll call vote. But then to approve items E and F, you should do a roll call.
Sounds good. So at this point, I'll ask for an approval to do a consent agenda for items E and F. I need a motion. and a
Motion
second.
to approve a consent agenda from items E and F.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Abraham to do a consent agenda for items E and F. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, we do have a consent agenda to approve the two items read into the record. Now we will vote on both items for approval, and this will be by voice call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Clerk, we still need the motion, so we need somebody to make the motion to approve those items. the
I'll make a
items on-
motion to approve the items on consent agenda for items E and F.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been properly motioned by Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Abraham to approve the consent agenda, or to approve both items for items E and F. We have already started our roll call. Trustees Abraham and
Yes.
Senior said yes. Trustee Chamalabi is absent. Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. These two
You
items
didn't call
carry.
me.
Trustee
forgot me.
Senior.
I need
Did I not?
vote.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
You said yes before. So this carries 4-0, Madam President, both items. Now we're on item G. A resolution authorizing and approving a certain agreement with REPT for the creation and use of a civic engagement platform for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, you want to tell us about the civic engagement platform?
Hello again. So, of course, this is on our website, and then where you just click it, it says Ask Broadview. And what REP is doing is giving us of where we're able to go into the next century. So where we're able to do videos, we're able to share through AI, we're able to give the community what they're asking for. So when you have questions, of course, you can ask your questions on there, you can type it in, and then if the video doesn't come up, you're more than welcome in order to just put it out there, we'll get it. So that's what REP has done. REP has given us the opportunity to connect more with the community.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or
No
comments?
questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
Mr. Jones, I have one question. What is the cost to the village for this?
So the cost of where they're charging us $1,500 per month. And it is in our budget.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Tomalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
You did say it was in your budget, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item H, a resolution authorizing and approving an engagement letter from Stifel, Nicholas and Company, Inc. for the provision of certain underwriter placement agent engagement services related to a potential municipal securities transaction for general obligation limited tax bonds, Series 2024, for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Senior, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Director Hood, you want to tell us about this?
Sure. As I had mentioned earlier, and I just wanted to point out, H and I are linked together. One is for Stifel, the other one is for the bond council. This is the beginning of the process of doing our annual rollover bond, and the annual rollover bond is the revenue source that pays off our capital improvement bond. And can I hand it off to Mr. Reedy here, who can explain the process?
Okay.
Anybody that might be new?
Sure. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mayor and trustees. So I'm Tom Reedy with Stifel. As Tom mentioned, the item before the board this evening is an engagement letter for our services as placement agent on the village's annual rollover bond. This is a process that started for the village all the way back in 2003, and then it was extended in 2018 with the capital bond that Tom just mentioned, which was linked to the improvements here at Village Hall. The village annually issues these bonds to pay debt service on its, the 2003 bonds are now paid off, but the 2018 bonds have debt service coming due December 1 and June 1 of next year, and the combined amount of $992,125. There's about $744,000 payment due this December 1, and the June payment is about $247,000. These bonds are payable from the debt service extension base of the village, which is the amount under statute the village is able to levy each year for payment of limited tax general obligation bonds. That amount this year for the, I should say for next year, the 2024 tax levy collected in 2025 is equal to $1,229,000. We estimate that the bond issue sizing this year will be right at about $1,180,000 based on that available debt service extension base. Each year these bonds are issued. We issue them with a one-year maturity. We often call them rollover bonds because we pay them off and then we issue a new set of bonds the following year in order to continually provide that payment source for the larger capital bond. And we do estimate that in addition to providing funds for the debt service due on the 2018 capital bond, that there will be leftover funds of roughly $150,000 available for capital projects within the village. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
I didn't see anything about a fee. Is there a fee associated with
It's 1% is typically our fee for this issue.
Okay,
And
I
it's
didn't
based on
see
the
it
final
in the
par
contract.
amount, and that's why it's not directly spelled out in the
Oh,
agreement.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Shelby?
I have no questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No, none.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Tom.
Roll call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next item I, a resolution authorizing and approving an engagement letter from Miller Canfield Paddock and Stone LPC for the provision of certain bond counsel services related to the potential issuance of general obligation limited tax bonds for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Senior, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Director Hood?
Ditto. But there is a part here that, we've been using the same bond counsel for years. He passed away recently. So we had to go out and find a new bond counsel for this year. And hopefully if it works fine, this will be our new bond counsel going forward.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No question.
Thank you. Trustee Shelby?
On bond counsel, is there a fee for that we pay?
There is the,
Yeah, it says not to exceed
is it,
50.
yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's in the engagement letter.
Thank you.
You know what, actually, it is 15,000. I remember talking to him.
Thank you. Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you all. Next is item J. An ordinance amending the Village of Broadview's designating ordinance and the governing intergovernmental agreement of the West Regional Enterprise Zone relative to limitations on tax abatements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Senior, seconded by trustee Shelby. Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Upshaw, you want to tell us about this enterprise zone?
Yes, Mayor. The West Regional Enterprise Zone is a designated area by the state of Illinois in cooperation with local governments to receive tax incentives and other benefits to stimulate the economy. It was established in 2020, and the enterprise zone brings state incentives to businesses in Bellwood, Broadview, Merrill's Park, Maywood, and unincorporated Cook County. A public hearing was held today, October 21st at 7 p.m. in the council chambers, and notification was given. The ad was placed in the Chicago Tribune, as well as the information was posted in the Village Hall Information Board. The proposed amendment to the Village of Broadview's designating ordinance for the West Regional Enterprise Zone limitations on taxes. This change in affects the limitation on tax abatements under Section 5.4.1 A through C of the Enterprise Zone Act, and property that is in both the Enterprise Zone and a tax increment financing redevelopment area, they may not receive tax abatements. The West Region, I also want to add that the West Regional Enterprise Zone, we do not offer tax abatements as an incentive. I'll answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Upshaw. Trustee Miller?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
I will like the record reflect that we did have a public hearing prior to this board meeting before this became, you didn't mention that, but we did have a public hearing at 7 to address what's brought before us today. So thank you, Commissioner Upshaw. Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalabi is absent. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby?
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board.
Next is item K, a motion to establish a consent agenda to include the following items, which I will read into record. Number 1, a resolution for the approval of a joint funding agreement for federally funded construction for the 25th Avenue Shared Use Path, IDOT job number C-91-135-23.
Motion to.
Nope, number 2.
Oh, you read it too.
A resolution authorizing and approving a local public agency agreement with Edwin Hancock Engineering Company for certain engineering services for the creation of a shared use path on 25th Avenue from the Salt Creek Trail to 14th Street, IDOT job number C-91-135-23 for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois. Then number 3, a resolution for the approval of a joint funding agreement for PE role related to the construction and construction engineering of the 25th Avenue Shared Use Path, IDOT job number D91-101-23. And finally, number 4, a resolution authorizing and approving a local public agency agreement with Edwin Hancock Engineering Company for certain engineering services for the creation of a shared use path on 25th Avenue from the Salt Creek Trail to 14th Street, IDOT job number D-91-101-23 for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois. Now a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Who made the second?
Me.
Okay, it's been properly motioned by Trustee Shelby, seconded by Trustee
If,
Singh.
if I may, it needs to be a motion to establish the consent agenda and then a motion to approve it. So that motion that you made, Trustee Shelby, is that a motion to establish the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes. So that was established and motioned by Trustee Shelby and seconded by Trustee Senior. So at this time, Madam President, it's open for discussion.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
I think we're supposed to approve the consent agenda, right?
Right now is the time that if there's any items that you want to remove from the consent agenda, you can remove those from the consent agenda. If not, then if there's no items that any of the trustees want to remove from the consent agenda, you guys can all just vote on that and just say yay, that could be a voice vote. Then for the motion to approve the items on the consent agenda, that's when the discussion could be held.
Okay. So at this time, does any trustee wish for any of the 4 items read into the record to be removed, or should we consider all 4? Hearing no opposition, I'll take a voice call. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, this passes 4-0 to approve the consent agenda or establish the consent agenda. Now, item L is the motion to approve all items on the consent agenda as established. Motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for items K1 through 4.
Second.
And properly motioned by Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Abraham to approve all items on the consent agenda, items 1 through 4. That's K 1 through 4. Madam President, now it's open for discussion.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk, before we go to a roll call, because it's a consent agenda, I do want to say that we've been working on this for probably the last 5 or 6 years to provide pedestrian pathway on 25th Avenue. So it would go from 14th Avenue all the way down to the Salt Creek Trail. And so we're getting bike lanes and safe passage sidewalks for those that work in the industrial corridor. And so it's a shared use path with hot mix asphalt, ADA improvements, and pavement marking, signage, and drainage improvements on 25th. And so this is a big deal. So I'm just grateful for Speaker Welch and Senator Lightfoot for really working with IDOT. IDOT coming here, Department of Transportation Secretary came to Broadview, and we took them on a tour on what we really needed in our industrial corridor. So this is really a big deal. So thank you. Mr. Clerk, we can do a roll call.
All right, roll call. Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Chamalabi is absent. Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Shelby?
Yes.
Trustee Armour is absent. Trustee Miller?
Yes.
And this carries 4-0. Thank you very much. Now, item M, motion to approve any items removed from the consent agenda if necessary. It is not necessary as we did not remove anything, so I'm going to ask for a motion to strike item M.
Motion to strike item M.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Miller, second by trustee Abrams Campbell to strike item M since it was not necessary. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Hearing none, item M is stricken from the record. Next, item 11, village clerk report. As always, I will be brief. Again, just quick reminder to always speak clearly and into the microphones, as the recording will not pick your voice up easily if you're anywhere more than a foot away or talking away from the direction of the mic. So it's very important not only to get the minutes of the meeting accurate, but also for the resident complaints that we receive that sometimes we cannot be heard on our recordings. That being said, one last thing, and this is housekeeping. It's a courtesy, as I do ask each time I put out the board package for each of the trustees and board members to acknowledge attendance at the board meetings. That's important because if we do not have a quorum, we cannot hold a meeting. And sometimes if the communication is not there, we won't know that until the meeting actually is about to start at 7:30. And it's kind of unfair to those that do show up and those department heads that are here sometimes 6, 7 in the morning and, you know, stay extended hours to make sure that they're at the meeting. We do pay an attorney who's there, and that would be wasted resources as well. So please, if you can, communicate and let us know if you will be in attendance to the meeting. And the only reason we ask this is because of our attendance recently, possibly didn't have quorum. So that being said, that concludes my report, Madam President. Next is item 12, Village President's Report. Mayor Katrina Thompson.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. So a couple of things. We had a real busy week last week. A lot of activity took place in the Village of Broadview. We had the productions of the Chicago Med filmed here in our chambers, and then later this week we got a surprise with Lil Durk press conference. So I do want to just say, because I've been getting several text messages and phone calls about all of the stuff surrounding that, so I want to be real clear in what I say tonight. So I had the opportunity to meet him last year at his foundation fundraiser, and we had several conversations about neighborhood heroes and the work that he's doing around the young people. And I wish they had an opportunity to see the video of all the work that he's really doing. It's just phenomenal. And so we plan on showing that video at the next board meeting, because the Chief Sustainability Officer will be here to talk more on, like, what are the next steps for Broadview. But the lyrics in his song, All My Life, to me, it describes resilience, the struggles that Lil Durk faced. His lyric says, but the media called me a menace. It's not just the media, it's the people too. I done sat with the mayor and the politicians. I'm trying to change the image. You can't blame my past no more. I come from the trenches. Sometimes we have to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. As a part of his lyric says, child support is the only support. We have to encourage and inspire ourselves sometimes, and in a negative arena, we have to be the ones that promote what's positive. I am a mayor, and I'm proud to have made that connection that is very valuable to our community, providing opportunity of second chances and giving young people the hope on all the possibilities on things that they can have. I've come from a troubled background, and I'm very proud of how I was raised, the community I grew up in, because it made me resilient of who I am today. So I'm grateful. So let me take a moment to educate and inform our community on the meaning of the keys of the village that we gave Lil Durk and the foundation. So the key to the city is a symbolic honor that dates back to ancient times when cities were walled and guarded. The key represented the trust and freedom, granting the recipient the privilege to enter and leave the city at will. In modern times, the presentation of a key to the city is a ceremonial gesture, symbolizing the city's appreciation and recognition of an individual's significant contributions to the community. Receiving a key to the city signifies that the honoree is always welcome, valued, and seen as an integral part of the community's fabric. It's not merely about recognition, but about deep connection and gratitude the community feel for individuals' positive impact. Whether through charitable work, leadership, or exceptional service, those who receive the key to the city have made a lasting difference and are celebrated for their efforts. It presents trust, honor, and belief that the recipient has contributed in ways that help uplift and strengthen our city, leaving a legacy that others can look to for inspiration. Partnering with Little Dirk and Neighborhood Heroes brings hope and opportunities to our youth, and now we're ready to continue to work. So at our next board meeting, there will be a presentation on what the next steps are. Our partnership with Neighborhood Heroes in the Village of Bellwood. Neighborhood Heroes is a charitable organization founded by Dirk Banks, also known as Lil Durk, a well-known rapper, with the mission of giving back to underserved communities. We are considered an underserved, disadvantaged community here in Broadview. The foundation focuses on empowering youth, providing resources and support for education, health, and social services. Neighborhood Heroes aims to create positive change by investing in programs that offer educational scholarships, youth mentorship, and community outreach initiatives. They also collaborate with local organizations, businesses, and government entities to address critical issues such as youth violence, poverty, and social equity. Through these efforts, the foundation works to uplift and inspire young people, helping them realize their potential and building stronger and more resilient communities. In recent initiatives such as the Kaleidoscope Project, and that's the project that we're working on, the foundation partners with mayors and municipalities like Broadview and Bellwood to integrate sustainable efforts, clean energy, and career pathways into communities' future development with a focus on creating opportunities for our youth. As many of you know, we have the Broadview Young Scholars, and they are here in the Village of Broadview every week where they get 2 hours of my time to talk about whatever we need to talk about, but to help them be more engaged in civic engagement. So in August 2020, I began working on the Broadview Sustainability Plan. On April 22nd, 2021, I launched the broader sustainability project. This is all on our YouTube channel. And Darnell played a significant role in making this initiative happen, not only for Broadview, but also for our C4 partners. The framework focuses on equity, resilience, and climate protection, outlines our community priorities in the following areas. 1, place, engagement and inclusion, cultural identity, public spaces and housing, prosperity, access to opportunity, economic development and innovation, health and well-being, active living, health, safety, and food systems, connectivity, street networks, mobility, and digital infrastructure, living infrastructure, natural features, ecosystems, and connection with nature, resource regeneration, air and climate, water, and waste management. Fast forward to 2024. And we expanded our vision through collaboration between the Village of Broadview, the Village of Bellwood, and Neighborhood Heroes, led by founder and CEO Dirk Lil Banks with the Kaleidoscope Project. This project will utilize the same framework identified by the Eco-District protocols to continue building sustainable and resilient communities. That's who we are, resilient. Broadview is resilient. So I do want to take the time out because it was a real heavy weekend for me. And I just want to say I'm grateful for Clerk McGreer. He really, Friday night, he was with me the whole day. So thank you, because it meant a lot to me. Trustee Abraham, Trustee Shelby, Trustee Senior, and Trustee Child Malavi for checking on me over the weekend and supporting the postcard event. It's little things that matter to me that really kept me going, and I'm very exhausted right now, very, because it's been a lot. It was good for my mental health. And that support kept me focused on the work to keep us moving forward. And I'm calling for a motion to adjourn. Good night, and God bless you all.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Shelby, seconded by Trustee Abraham to adjourn this evening's meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, we are hereby adjourned at 8:54 p.m. Thank you all for coming. God bless and good night.